Well, good morning, guys. Sorry it's been so long since I've posted, but I'm glad to be back on here posting once again. One of the main reasons I haven't posted in a little bit because I've been on vacation, and vacation is a wonderful thing, especially if you just stay at home and don't do a whole lot of anything, which is what I've been doing. I've been spending time with my wife and my daughters. We've been having a good time, but we didn't have any structured plan as far as vacation was concerned, just to spend time with one another, sit in the sunroom, play outside, go to lunch, things like that. Stuff we don't get to do when ministry is taking place on a day to day basis and administration, especially, is taking place. So I've enjoyed this. I've had a great time, and I'm blessed that my church gives me vacation the way they do. They give me a good bit of time off each year that I spread out, and I'm able to take a little bit of time off every quarter just to refresh myself. The things that are happening at the church here lately, we just finished with the Gospel of Mark, basically. I have one more sermon to preach that ties everything back together. But we have been from chapter 1, verse 1, all the way through 16, verse 8, and we've had a great time in Mark. We've seen a lot about Christ, a lot of good things that we needed to see. I believe people have enjoyed it. It has given me a time to really work on my preaching and work on the challenge of getting in a book and going verse by verse, because inevitably what happens is you get to a verse that you otherwise would not preach at your church if you were not going verse by verse. That happened to me a few times in Mark, and there are things, subjects that I might have glossed over or overlooked, if not constrained into the context of Mark to see what Jesus was saying about those specific issues. And perhaps I'll write some of those passages down. The next time I post, we'll talk about that. That would be something interesting to do. Another thing that's going on is our Wednesday night programs are back up. We're having our ESL and our GED. Our ESL is going well. The first week we had about 5 students, and this past Wednesday the count was at least 10 new students, plus I'm assuming the 5 that we had. So that's a very good sized class. About 15 students is good for us. Our GED class is going well. Once again, praise the Lord for Eastfield College and their willingness to come and help us facilitate that. And we just hope that through that people will get their high school equivalency and that they'll be able to get a better job and have a better quality of life. But obviously the benefit to us is that we can minister to them, talk with them, build a relationship with them, and hopefully get to a point where we might share the gospel with them. For those who don't know Christ, they might come to accept him. So we're very excited about those things. The last thing I want to talk to you about is something, the election is coming upon us. It's not very long before Americans all over the country will go in the voting booths and pick between 2 candidates for president. What's surprising to me is not the fact that the men differ completely on issues. I've come to expect that, obviously, as you have. What does surprise me is how seemingly biased all of the media. Now you've heard some of the candidates refer to the elite media, and those would be the national news sources. But it's not just the elite media; it's every media outlet that is on network television. Now you have some, you know. Fox News and people like that who seem to be bent more towards conservatives. But if you're not doing an editorial and you're not doing an opinion, then you ought to just present the news as it is. We get up there and and we have a debate like we did night before last, and the debate that I've watched all 3 of the presidential, and I've watched the vice presidential, but I watched that debate and I saw McCain do a good job. I saw Barack Obama do a good job on certain things, and I don't agree with both of their ideologies. There's no way you can reconcile both of their opinions together. So you either have to be on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. But what surprised me is that after the debate was over, the people who comment on the debate always, always, always have a clear favorite. It's always the same favorite, and it's just that bias that's built into their way of thinking. They just feel as if they ought to be able to sway the opinions of the American people. And I don't really agree with that. I think that people listen to them for the news, and people ought to be thinking in terms of the fact that, hey, I'm not going to let these people fashion my opinions on who to vote for in this election. But I don't know if people are thinking that, and they are obviously trying to sway the election. We have Hollywood putting out a movie which Josh Brolin stars in, about George W. Bush, and they're putting it out right before the election. And once again, they are trying to associate John McCain with George W. Bush. And I just, I'm kind of concerned about what's going on in the country, but whatever happens, it's in God's control. The Bible tells us that God appoints leaders in countries, that if we get someone that we did not want, that it will be clear that we did deserve that, that God is putting that person in office, and we'll just have to reap either the benefit or the consequence of that. And I believe it will be consequences if we hold to the polls that we're taking right now. But I don't even know whether I can trust the polls given the media bias. I don't know what questions they're asking. I don't know how they're phrasing the question. So I don't really know if the polls are correct or if they're not. So I guess we'll know on election night. I know our troops overseas are already voting. That's going to give me a good kind of pulse about how things are going overseas as far as how they perceive things happening. And as they vote for their choice for president, I look forward to hearing those results. But anyway, this is a time for us to be in prayer for our country. There is much more at stake than just the economy. The free market will correct itself if we leave it alone. There may be some hard days ahead, and that may be expected, but it will correct itself. We will be back in line in the economy if we keep our hands out of it, if we let it regulate itself like it should. So I just encourage you to look at the issues for each candidate. I have no problem telling you that I am a single issue voter. The right to life is something that determines what I vote and how I vote, and that's just my issue. As long as that issue is at stake, as long as there's a chance to repeal Roe versus Wade, as long as there's a chance to appoint judges who are strict readers of the Constitution and don't try to fashion it into their own tool to do what they want to do with their own agenda, as long as that's at stake and that affects the life issue, then of course it's pretty obvious who I will vote for. But I am a single issue voter. Nothing else comes close. Nothing else comes in. I could be dead broke, sitting on the side of the road with nowhere to live, with my 2 daughters and my wife, and I'm still going to vote for one single issue. The economy is not going to sway me one way or the other, because I realize one thing, and I want you to realize this if you listen to this. The government, whoever the next president is, cannot fix the economy. The American public will fix the economy as everything comes back into balance, as some people lose their homes, people that never deserved to have a home, that didn't have the credit rating, that didn't have the type of payment history that would warrant them to have a loan. They didn't need, you're not entitled to have a home. So that is not part of it. We are not entitled to have health care. That's why they call it a benefit. It's not an entitlement, it's a benefit. We don't have this sense of entitlement that they would have you believe we have. And the problem is that people don't believe that they need to get out there and work hard for what they get. They believe that the American dream is only within their grasp if somebody hands it to them on a silver platter. If you want to live the American dream, you go, you work hard, you save your money, you buy what you can buy, you sell what you can sell, you live within your means, you stay away from credit, you do all those things that you're supposed to do, and you will have the American dream. And so I don't believe that it needs to be handed to us. I believe we need to work for it. I believe in small government. I believe in all those things. But that one thing that drives my passion, the one thing that drives me to the voting booth and is going to make me vote a certain way each time, is this issue about life. As long as there's a chance that we can rescue unborn babies in the womb, as long as there's a chance that we can stop this atrocity where people go and end, as they said in the debate, an unplanned pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy. If you didn't want to get pregnant, well, the obvious answer is not to have sex. So now that you are pregnant, what about the choice of the child? And they're not thinking about that. They're not being fair. And as we don't stand against that evil, we will answer for it one day. Well, I thank you for listening to this post. I hope it was informative. That gives you an idea where my heart is. Leave me a reply. I'll be happy to answer any questions about what I think. I'll be happy to even defend what I think if you want to attack that. And I hope to hear from you. God bless you, and I'll talk to you later.